Hi, I'm James Smith, and I'm a market analyst at FutureSource Consulting. FutureSource are a UK-based market research agency providing specialist market research services for the technology industry. So my focus at FutureSource is on consumer electronics. I manage and run the mobile technology team, where we have a big focus on wearable devices. We've been looking at the wearable market now for 7 years, and so have watched the market grow pretty significantly from 2011 up to the point we are today.
And what do you see as the current trends in wearables in 2019?
So one of the key trends we see at the moment is what we call the digital fitness wave. And that's kind of a follow-on from the quantified self trend we saw a few years back. But essentially it's kind of where vendors are focusing on providing a lot more information and actionable insights in terms of their health and fitness, in terms of more metrics than just how many steps you've taken today. So it focuses on heart rate, it focuses on calories burnt and active minutes as well. And that's a trend we see a lot of vendors bring into the market. Particularly trying to develop a stronger ecosystem for their products, trying to engage consumers more with their wearable devices and grow kind of a more long-lasting relationship with their products in a wider ecosystem as well.
So do you see any different feature demands in the wearables in different regions, and why do you think that is?
So we see a lot of feature demands in different regions. Firstly, we see the USA as a really early adopter market has gone through a number of the kind of preliminary trends to grow wearable uptake. And so we see users there really demanding kind of next generation and more accurate features and functionality. We also see differences in, for example, Europe, where generally sports uptake is kind of higher, and therefore there's high demand for sports watches. So these are users that really want to track in depth their sporting activity, their health, in terms of both on a run, for example, but then also in day-to-day life. And we're looking at kind of more developing markets such as China as well. There's a real uptake of kind of lower priced devices. This is kind of partly due to the purchasing polarity, but also due to the fact that say Chinese consumers aren't quite engaged with the kind of the wider metrics that these devices can bring as of yet. So we're kind of at the starting point where users are thinking, okay, well, if I track my activity, I can see how many steps I do, but we haven't yet got to the point where users are looking for a little bit more detail. But that's certainly kind of a growth area we see. We see Chinese vendors or China market focused vendors implementing some of these features now, and we expect over the next 5 years or so for the Chinese market to really develop as a kind of a higher value device and a higher feature rich device market moving forward.
And in terms of the industry as a whole, where do you see the next big trends and the developments over the next few years?
And so in terms of the next big trends, the digital fitness wave, as we're calling it at the moment, and so this is where users are getting a lot of feedback in terms of their day-to-day fitness, is a really important movement we think. And that really kind of builds the ecosystem of using the device, and so brands are really keen to kind of dive into that. It kind of prevents churn from users, and so that's something we see pushing moving forward. But I also think there's a huge potential for more communications style functionalities, and so voice technologies such as Apple Siri or Amazon's Alexa, we think can be really important moving forward. And so we've seen these technologies kind of provide a really good user interface for, say, the kitchen, for example, where you may need a hands-free kind of digital assistant. And there's a lot of use cases for that on the go, and so having that technology on the wrist is really important. Also, just LTE connectivity or having, say, a 4G smartwatch, we think is a really important move, and that's where a lot of vendors will be focusing on now, with support of operators who are always looking for another device to connect as a kind of a new revenue stream as well. And so features that could be brought out from that are more kind of health and safety features, and so, for example, remote fall detection, but also music streaming and other more communication-style technologies that can benefit the user as well.
And finally, just how have you enjoyed the Firstbeat HRV Summit so far? Is there any best bits?
It's been a great couple of days so far at the Firstbeat HRV Summit. As I said in my presentation, really delighted to be invited. I think for me, my top bit was the presentations on sleep. I appreciate that I definitely need to sleep better, and so it was kind of a good learning moment for that. But also just understanding the science behind why sleep tracking on the wrist is so important was quite an important kind of learning objective for me as well. And so that's been really useful too.